What's going on, guys? Welcome to the update vlog of all update vlogs. I've been meaning to do this for quite some time, and I'm just now getting around to it. It's for good reason, I promise. There's two main things that I want to go over in today's episode. First, why I've been gone, why it's been over a month and a half since I've posted any content, and what exactly have I been doing during this pandemic. The second thing that I want to go over, which is equally as important in its own regard, is what happened to the Conan server. It's completely destroyed. Short answer, it's gone forever. I'm going to get into all the details of both of those topics here shortly. If you want to skip ahead to just see what happened to the Conan, I completely understand. Feel free to do so. That's going to be towards the end of the video. But for right now, let's go ahead and jump in to the very first topic of why I've been gone and what I've been doing. For those of you who have been following along with my social media, you already are privy to this. I posted on the community tab that my wife was 9 months pregnant. She was going to be due anytime, and I was going to be taking a break for content during this time, mainly to get ready, do the final touches on the nursery, make sure everything's all prepped and ready to go. Not to mention it was during a pandemic, or the start of the pandemic, so it was starting to get a little crazy and things were getting a little unsure as to what was actually going to happen when my wife went into labor and we would go to the hospital. So I took a little bit of a break there. I said I was going to try and post content here and there, kind of in between after the birth of my child. However, I did not fully at the time grasp what all it would entail being a new parent. I had an idea. I thought it would be manageable. I thought there would be a set schedule that we could kind of create earlier on than we were able to. All sorts of good stuff. Those who are already parents probably are laughing at me at this point. Understandably so. I would be laughing at myself, and looking back, I do, as to how naive I actually was. Let's jump into the birth story. So on April 1st, about 2 o'clock in the morning, my wife wakes me up. I've been asleep for about 2 hours. Typical Mace fashion on what day was that? Oh gosh, I don't even remember the day. It was a typical time frame. I hadn't been asleep very long. I think I went to bed about at midnight on a work night, which I usually do. So, wife wakes me up. She says, I think I'm in labor, which she had just recently been to the doctor before, and the doctor said, well, your due date's April 6th, and the stage that you're at right now, I'll spare you all the gory details, but the stage that you're at right now, I'm anticipating it at least being your due date, if not after the fact. Now, because of the COVID-19 pandemic that was sweeping the world, our doctor and us, I should say, had decided we were going to go ahead and induce on her due date if she did not naturally go into labor beforehand or on that day. So that was going to be a scheduled induction, all of that good stuff. I'm thinking, hey, no big deal. I'll just, do my normal thing. I don't need to go to bed earlier. I'll just do that when it starts to get a few days closer. Should have not done that. I should have started about 2 weeks before, catching up as much sleep as I possibly could. Didn't do it. So my wife wakes me up that night. We do the typical testing of, you're timing the contractions basically. It's within a certain amount of time, certain number of contractions with a certain length of time that they last. And that is a rough guideline, is pretty accurate as to whether or not you're in labor. So we do that. It takes about an hour. We do that. We call the doctor's office. We talk to the on-call doctor, and they say, looks like you're most likely in labor. I would go ahead and head to the hospital. So that's what we do. Load up, get in the car, get all of our go bags. All that stuff was already prepared, as it should have been, and we head to the hospital. When we get there, it's 4:30 in the morning at this point. We go, the main hospital entrance and all that shut down. So we have to go through the ER. Pretty common. However, what's not common is a pandemic. So what's the first place somebody's going to go if they have any COVID-19 symptoms? The ER. So, especially at this point, because this is early April in Texas. So there's not a huge number, but it's starting to balloon and all sorts of craziness, as if you guys have been keeping up with it. So we go there. Thankfully, there's nobody in there. I'm thinking, okay, this is great. Nobody's in here. I'm just not going to touch anything. I'm going to let people with gloves touch everything. No big deal. They took our temperature, all that normal standard stuff. Great. Let me go to the car and grab a couple more bags. They gave my wife a wheelchair. I'm gone maybe a minute. Granted, parking lot's not full. It's 4:30 in the morning. I come back. They have a nurse there next to my wife, and she proceeds to tell me, guess what? You don't get to come up with her. And I'm kind of going into panic mode. My wife, I can tell the look on her face. She is about to lose her mind. And I'm doing everything that I can to make sure that she is as comfortable as possible. I'm not going to cause a scene. I understand fundamentally why they don't want me to. It's a pandemic. They don't want me to come up there and be exposed to stuff unnecessarily until they've determined that she is in fact in labor. Completely understand. As hard as it was to accept, I just accepted it, said, okay, I'm going to go wait in the car. Another reason why I should have made sure to get some more sleep, I'm starting to think, okay, I'm sitting in the car. What happens if I fall asleep? And all my mind racing, all the possibilities, all that stuff. Fortunately, we FaceTimed, and it was very, very quickly that they got and saw my wife. Obviously, nobody's there, and they're monitoring my wife and our baby. And it looks like it's going to be able to be a natural birth, which is what we were hoping for. And all of a sudden, the nurses start mumbling, and then they call the doctor, and then the doctor comes and sees my wife, and then they say, okay, well, we're just going to keep monitoring this. There's a potential for an issue. So we're kind of on edge, but we're just trusting. Next thing you know, doctor rushes in, nurses rush in, they call the doctor, and then all of a sudden, my wife gets rushed to emergency C-section. Everything's okay. There was an issue, and it was a concern for the health of the baby. Kind of a terrifying experience, but it's all a little bit of a whirlwind. They just kind of threw personal protection at me and said, you stand right here until we tell you to come in to the operating room. Okay, no problem. So I do that. Feels like forever. They take me in there. Our daughter is born. There was concern over an umbilical cord wrapped around her throat, but it was not tight at all. It just could have been a problem, and they prevented a problem. Hence the emergency C-section. So we're there. It's very strange to not have any visitors, but it's because of the pandemic. Although I will say it was kind of nice. It was just me, my wife, and our newborn, and then the nursing staff. And we were able to spend a lot of quality time with her and not have to worry about other family and friends showing up, which I would have loved for them to be there, but at the same time, it ended up being nice. So fast forward about a week, and that was a great experience. Aside from the terror of the pandemic and the terror of the emergency C-section, there's a ton of awesome memories and experiences that I'm going to carry with me forever, as any parent would. However, postpartum is a real deal, and I don't say this to scare people. However, it was kind of a terrifying experience that my wife just went through. So we're home for about a week. There are a list of known things that you need to watch for. And if one of them happens, they're all in different severity. And the list is pretty extensive of things that can happen. But she's doing really well. And then all of a sudden, what started with a sneeze ended up turning into my wife having to go rushed via ambulance to the hospital hours later, which was awful experience. I'll spare all the gory details. If you are curious about more information of this, I don't say all these things to scare soon-to-be new parents or people considering going and extending their family, having children, things like that. But if you are curious, it's not a super common thing. It is a known thing, but you know it's happening, and you definitely are monitoring it the whole time, and it can be life-threatening, but it's not super, super common. It's not unheard of, but it's not very common at all. So I will preface by saying that. But basically, my wife ends up passing out 2 times. I'm going to try and get her loaded up into the car. It is 2 o'clock in the morning, and we have a newborn who is losing her mind because that's what newborns do. I'm trying to get the baby ready. I'm trying to get the newborn bag, the diaper bag ready to go. We just a whole list of things that could have gone wrong, did go wrong. We had been monitoring the situation. We had called the doctor and still monitored. And it went from, okay, you just need to keep monitoring it. It should resolve itself, should resolve itself, should resolve itself. You need to take her to the emergency room now. However, at a certain point, my wife lost consciousness twice, very quickly, close to each other. And I determined there was no way that I was going to be able to get the baby loaded up, my wife loaded into the car safely, and to the hospital. I needed to call an ambulance. So that's what I did. My mother-in-law rushed over. Fortunately, they live close by, and so she was able to take care of her child while I followed the ambulance to the hospital. My wife was in and out of consciousness, like I said. So it was a very traumatic experience for all of us. Once we got to the hospital, this is only a week after we got out. So the COVID, I'm going to call it a crisis. The COVID crisis has kicked it up a notch at this point, and even more restrictions are added to the hospital. So we go to the hospital. I can't go inside, even though my wife was just brought in on an ambulance. Again, I understand why. However, at the time, it is a very uncomfortable feeling, especially when she was in and out of consciousness beforehand. So that whole experience has been, she's okay now. She is good and healthy. It's been over a month since that happened, and she is doing great. Baby is healthy. She's seen her actual doctor, not just the doctors at the hospital, and everything is okay. So I will say that, but I wasn't able to see her until they admitted her, which meant that I wasn't able to see her for a good majority of the day. Thankfully, one of the ER nurses were able to give her her phone so we could communicate once she was stable. Very terrifying experience, to say the least. So, with all of that said, baby is healthy. My wife is healthy. We are working on getting a schedule worked out. Our baby is getting to right about the point where she's actually could potentially sleep through the night. We could start to form a schedule, all sorts of good things. So content will be coming out soon, as soon as that schedule gets kind of locked down and I can carve some time out to make some content. I miss it. I miss posting for you guys. I miss playing games, but obviously starting a new family is very demanding, and it's just part of life. So I appreciate all of the love and support that you guys have been giving me all of these years that I've been doing this. It's been phenomenal, the support that you guys have shown to me. I love you guys. It's been great. The second thing that I wanted to talk about was what happened to the Conan server. It was completely destroyed. Well, basically, John made a really good video about this, and if you don't know who I'm talking about, John Bain, he was hosting the server, opened it up to us. He's a buddy of mine. Be sure to check out his video. He goes into a lot more detail than I'm about to, but essentially what happened is the server host company, something happened to the actual, I believe it was the server that was hosting our specific Conan server, and the data became damaged and corrupted and unreadable, so they could not repair it whatsoever. So the server was lost forever. It is lost forever. There is no coming back on that server, which means that Charlie's gone, my base is gone, all the adventures and stuff that we had been doing, all gone. There's no coming back from that. However, John is going to be creating a new server. He's already announced this. I'm not sure when that's going to happen. He's a very busy guy. He's got his own content to create, of which Conan is included, and he has stated that we are going to be making a new server, probably some different mods than what we were doing before, and he's got some really good ideas, so I am going to be joining in on that. I had a ton of ideas for the server that we were currently on in that season, and I want to continue and go above and beyond with that and explore some of these even newer mods that he's going to be adding to the new server. So I'm really looking forward to that. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch the video. Like and subscribe if you want to see more content. I don't do too many vlogs, but I plan on probably doing some, maybe with my daughter. Who knows? Maybe I can drag Mrs. Mason here and she'll be willing to get in front of the camera. I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, guys, I appreciate everything. I will see you guys next time. Have a good day.